Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of By the Numbers, the quintessential Counter-Strike podcast. I'm Richard Lewis, he's Duncan Shield, Sam presses the buttons. We've got lots to talk about, so we're going to get into it. But first, Duncan, I will ask how you are. You've had a rare day off.
I have, yeah. Just been trying to relax for once, not just be doing all the work non-stop.
Well, you're going to be at an event, which is amazing because people on Reddit and HLTV told me you don't get invited to events anymore, so... You're going to be at an event next weekend.
I am indeed, yeah. Well, here's the thing, actually. I have to say, the way that events have worked out over the last couple of years, where they just like... Last year was like all of them trying to go to 5 to 6 days, if you notice, except like DreamHack's basically the only ones I think that still run the 3-day tournaments. But at the same time, despite what everyone might think about the industry in CS, the actual like... day rate, etc., is about as good as it's ever been, quite frankly. So you've had slightly longer events with the day rate still being as good. You're not having to take a discount to do a longer event. It's actually fine to do one a month, one every 1.5 months. You get basically the same as you used to do in... I mean, it's a joke if you think back in 2015. We used to do like 3 events in a month and get like half of what we get for one event now.
Yeah.
It's an absolute joke, wasn't it? I mean, it was sick in its own way at the time, like.
What I like about it is as well the immediate way you just went straight to money. Like, just you're going to be at an event.
I've figured out I can get just the same paper with a third of the amount of work. So why the fuck would I be going to all these events when I can just get the P?
Yeah. It's like that thing, you know, if you ever like learn about the Hebrew language, like every letter actually corresponds with a number, and therefore that's what like Hebrew mysticism is. It's like you can take all the words out, or like the Bible or whatever, and find some like thing. That's what my life's like, but with money. Someone's like, "How are you doing today?" Well, I'm not too bad, you know. Started at 10, wake up 15.
Found a 10 on the floor, not bad.
I know. End of the day, made an extra 5. Said, "Fuck them all." Just went off to bed. You do it for the love of the game, right? Yeah. Love of the game. Yeah.
All in the game now, Sean. Right. So anyway, look, as I said, there's lots to talk about, man. Because there was 2 events that went on this weekend. Just gone.
How far you stretch the term event, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, listen.
Like if my cousin had a fucking LAN, I wouldn't be saying 3 events, Richard. It was 3. Tell you what, East came 3rd in that one as well. Good on him.
But no, I mean, DreamHack Tours. We had a good time when we went there, mate. Listen, that was the baguette smashing event, wasn't it?
Sadly, people forget the first DreamHack Tours was just a straight up legit event. It was one of the bigger tournaments, you know. Obviously, after that, it embraced the minor next year, and then just coincidentally, it happened to fit with the same theme that DreamHack Open had already sort of dropped down a few notches by then, and now it's sort of like a tier 2, tier 3 event. I mean, all you need to know is this. Right, this is where, as much as I'm harsh on people, right, sometimes I do just feel like, can we just get someone a break just for one day? Because obviously North's having a really bad time, not least because at the same time, even Heroic's just fucking around, like Freiburg winning things. And Astralis is like probably the best team to ever play Counter-Strike. Just completed the game. And then, so North obviously get their heads banged in. So finally they win a fucking LAN. And all they do, right, they don't go nuts. They just sort of go like, yeah, sorry everyone, but yeah, we won. And then every single person is like, shut the fuck up. That LAN wasn't even good, you piece of shit. And they're like, oh, not another day of this. Oh.
Right. Well, let's start then. Come on, we'll start with DreamHack Tour. Because you've gone there. I was going to bring that up, actually. But let's start. North did win the event. And I'll say this, like, anybody who thinks that North is sort of back to being a top tier team off the back of this performance. I watched every North map at this event, is out of their motherfucking mind. And I'll tell you this straight off the bat as well. You see that tweet AZ put out where he echoed the Samail tweet?
Yes. Classic meme, by the way, yeah.
Yeah, it's a classic meme, but I think a lot of people in CS don't understand it because it's a dope
was real. Yeah.
Yeah. And it basically what Smail said, and I'll get it slightly wrong, no doubt, but it was like EG fans were like, criticizing them, and he said like, I hope you enjoy being bitter because I love being the fucking best or something.
It's like the greatest, I think he said.
Yeah, the greatest. Yeah, which is and more recently, Admiral Bulldog did it as well over the fucking people criticizing his commentary.
It's like Freiburg of Daughter.
Yeah, the Freiburger daughter. It's a well-known meme in Dota, and AZ tweeted it out. Now, first thing, my initial gut reaction when I saw it is, wind your fucking neck in, Izzy, because not only, like, no, I know he's got a right to be happy because he won a tournament, right? Like you're saying, can we give him a fucking break? But first of all, like, all right, you had a good final against tier 2, borderline tier 3 opposition. Congrats. Well, okay, the HellRaisers is solidly tier 2, but over the course of the tournament, I watched that 16-14 against Imperial, where they were on the Kosh on Dust 2. Izzy didn't have a good game. Like, I don't know why it has to be him, the guy that's been, like, literally dead weight in the team, carried through numerous roster changes, that has to fucking post the meme, right? But then on top of that as well, you've won DreamHack Tour, right? Where you had to beat HellRaisers, Gambit, and Imperial. Please, like, you're one of the highest salary teams in Europe. Maybe save that tweet. Like, you know how, like, at Barcelona, right? I can't remember. Oh, fuck. Some player joined Barcelona. It might have been Neymar, I heard the story about. And he immediately bought a fucking sports car. And it was like the fucking, when people were living in austerity measures and all this in Europe. And he was like riding around in a fucking Lambo or something. And like Xavi and Iniesta like pulled him to one side and said, nah, this is what we drive to the ground. And it was just like 2 regular, reliable cars. And they said, we don't flaunt our wealth in the face of our fans. Okay. Like we're a people's club. We want to be loved.
Sound like pussies, but all right.
Yeah.
I'd be fucking flossing on them with a fucking drop top coupe.
Xavi and Iniesta, only 2 of the fucking greatest footballers of all time. Iniesta, the absolute fucking don. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, but you know what? His car game weak as fucking knee. Was he driving a Mr. Bean's car, the little daft cunt? Get fucking rolling. Get a fucking Beamer with 24-inch rims and that motherfucker.
So I just wish somebody had done something similar to like Izzy, like on North, and just been like, listen, right? Everyone knows we've been shit for ages, Izzy, and this is a fucking tier 2 tournament. We beat nobody. We're not back. It's not real. Wind your neck in. Step out of that fucking Lambo.
Like, come on, that's like that stupid thing where when you're a kid and you play like your cousin or someone on some video game where you've played it loads. So obviously you're way better than them. It's your PlayStation or whatever, and they just play it occasionally. And you beat them like 10 times, right? Because you're better than them. You're not like flaunting it in their face. You're enjoying it like, oh, you see what I did there? So, yeah, it wasn't bad. Like I hit it was hard actually. Yeah. Oh, you did well though. And then when they finally beat you once, they're just like, oh, what up, bitch? Oh, shit. You don't like that now. And they're just like trying to like crip walk out the room or something. And you're like, what the fuck? Like I was even like half not trying in that game to give you a chance. What are you doing?
It's mad, isn't it, right? But so anyway, so let's talk about North. I don't know if you caught the games. I was getting up out here. I was getting up pretty early to have to watch them. They were on at like 2-3 a.m. in the morning. So I don't know if you saw them, but I did watch all of North's games. They got off to a shaky start. The Gambit game was slightly better, although I would say Gambit are a team that's like there for the taking. Really, I did think Gambit were going to win still because I think North is a shambles. Still,
Gambit's just a waste of fucking talent, isn't it? Like that team could be so fucking good.
Well, we'll come to that. But then they had a pretty like dominant performance in the final. 2-0 against HellRaisers. But here's the thing: like HellRaisers. They're, like I say, they're a very solid tier 2 team. Still carrying, Dead Fox, that sort of dead weight. Although I thought he was better here outside of the final than I've seen him for a while. Had some nice rounds and stuff. But like, all you need to know here is that North won the whole event, but didn't have one player in the top 3 stats-wise for performance. It was like 2 were on HellRaisers and another was on Gambit, I think. So I don't think it was like vintage North or anywhere near the standard. And let's be real, if we were talking about North 9 months ago, this would have been a layup for them. You would have been like, why are they going to this tournament instead of going to a bigger one? This is actually beneath them to compete. They're clear favourites. Now, I wouldn't have even called them favourites going in. So I don't know. What do you make of them? I think this is a fucking false dawn, in my opinion. I don't think North have fixed anything. And I think once they come up against stronger opposition, they'll get exposed again.
Yeah, the big concern I have is like if you look at how MSL teams tend to play, they don't tend to be like slow starters that are bad when the lineup's first formed and then take like months and months to put together and become really good. Because in general, because he has like a system in place, you know, they're going to have a map or two to start with where he's worked on all those strats and everyone knows their role. So actually, after watching the first few lands they played, it's a really, really bad sign how like underwhelming they are. And the fact also that if you notice, like, okay, I guess Valde does do pretty well generally, but he's like the only one who looks really good in that team. Whereas that's the thing, actually, a lot of players have come up in the MSL system because the roles mean that actually you sort of get a consistent stream of whatever you're good at in theory. So it's really concerning to me that people like Kirby's just kind of like, he's all right, you know, but he's, you know, you thought he was going to come here and fucking while out on everyone. That was kind of the whole point, presumably, why he came back to this squad, to try and like show that he could be the star player or whatever, which he wasn't going to be in Astralis. So the entire project feels like kind of a non-starter to me. Feels like they tried a couple of times, hasn't really worked thus far. Even if things went well now, I think reasonably, you're only looking at slightly better than this. So it's actually like the bottom end of what you'd expect for this team the last 2 or 3 years. So I don't really know what they do, because obviously OpTic team's only just formed that's got all those players. Heroic actually doesn't even have the all Danish players anymore. You'd have to gamble on some like new talent. So I feel as though they'll probably just ride it out for a few more months and pray you get better results. But I find that doesn't tend to happen in Counter-Strike. Like if tomorrow they had a good LAN, that would be the outlier. It's not just going to continue.
I think to talk about positives for North, you know, if there's any North fans watching, like this is the best Kirby's looked since he went there. But again, this is all, any praise you give them is tempered by the fact that this is a tier 2 LAN on the tour. You know, I couldn't see them turning in this performance against a top tier team. But yes, they looked very dominant individually. You know, Kirby, I thought he was the best since he's joined North. Mertz had a really good tournament. You know, Valde. MSL wasn't even that terrible, you know, over the course of the tournament, just talking about from a fragging perspective.
Oh, by the way, I'll give everyone a little teaser, actually. So I did a feature that involved Sean Gers. I won't reveal what it was because that gives away like some of the background info. And in it, okay, just as a little bit of background for you on why this is going to be fun is, right, listen, I love to listen to Sean Gers talk. He's a guy who has a very coherent like mind for the game. Yeah. When he talks about things, he mixes in a bit of his own experience, you know, but he can also do some of the theory, and he's obviously a pretty charismatic guy. So, but whenever I am listening to different people's opinions, they're opinions, you know. And even if someone has a whole system, this is one of the reasons why I never understood why people were so harsh on people like MSL or Existence. Like, clearly something about their systems work. You can disagree and say, I prefer a different style of Counter-Strike. But, you know, you got to appreciate, like, right, if I'm listening to this guy, I'm buying a ticket for this ride, I'm going to go all in. So other people don't think that way, right? They just think there's like a correct opinion, and whoever they like or think is smarter is closer to the correct opinion than whoever else. So since I obviously am a long-time foil of Happy in his style of play and always kind of thought it was going to get its comeuppance anyway, people always link me to this video that Sean did maybe like 6 months ago, where the video was like, you know, something like, is this baiting or something? And then it showed some of Happy's players and actually concluded that, like, no, it isn't. Because, by the way, if you know anything about Sean Gers, he's also, like, a really fucking chill guy. So, in general, if possible, he's going to give people the benefit of the doubt, or he's going to give you a great story as to why, you know, this looks bad, but as an in-game leader, you know, you can't always corral the young guys in the team, and, you know, they might just go off base, and, you know, oh, maybe you really practiced it, but they had a bad day. You know, like, he's going to do that, isn't he? So, when I listen to it, I've even watched the video, some great points there. It's Sean Gers' perspective. Obviously, I disagree still. Don't really, you know, just because he says something, I don't go, oh, well, better just change my whole fucking life then. Start having a small dog and using Instagram. I said, no, just get on with my fucking life. Don't keep living my life and my dreams, boy. So anyway, just in line of that, the reason I've set this all up right now is because you all love that Sean Gers, right? You all love to tell me whatever he says is true. So how would you like to know? I've got a piece of content coming up where he breaks down what he thinks is so brilliant about MSL, someone he chose to be a central point of this entire thing, and actually how he's modeled his game on MSL over the years. You all like that? You all want to get into that world, do you? This is like I'm making you fucking drop acid with Hunter S. Thompson, boy. You're going for a ride. Let's go into MSL mind via Sean Gers' mind.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I mean, I watched an interview with MSL after the after they won, and he was talking about, how much work they've been putting in, usual kind of fare. But he also said that the team was starting to click, like, socially, like this was the first time in a while.
The last time he said on Twitter something like, we feel like it's a real team now and everyone has their roles.
They got fucking smashed.
When they went into their fucking nosedive and had all the bad results in a row, including that one where they just like won like 0 games or something mental.
But yeah. So again, I don't put too much stock in what he said, but at the end of the day, like, you can only beat the opponents that are in front of you. North did that. Judgment's still going to be out for me over whether or not North is actually back in a traditional sense. I don't think this land means too much. I think this should have been a layup for them at the standard of teams that were here. I mean, who else were the favorites really? Probably HellRaisers or Gambit, right? Yeah. So, whatever. But let's talk about HellRaisers. HellRaisers, I thought, had a pretty good tournament. What's interesting is, even though they lost the final, it was Issa, the player from Jordan, who got the MVP. And I remember when, he first came in, and we were sort of saying, like, you're picking up players from a region that has no, like, well, I said this. Picking up players from a region that has no Counter-Strike infrastructure, looks desperate. Like, how good can it actually be? His numbers across this tournament were fucking great. Like, he destroyed the Imperial, EnVyUs, and Godsent. Just had like, which again, I know the jokes write themselves, but imagine a world where we're talking about HellRaisers players comprehensively dominating.
I'm just laughing at this picture.
Well, which one?
Right, look on HLTV.org, the picture that they've got of him, right? Because the thing is, when you look at him, you think that's really looks like a normal bloke, but it looks as though someone's done a sketch, and then they were doing too much detail, like doing all the shading, and then someone was like, right, dinner's up, and they hadn't finished his chin, and they went, fuck it, just ran off.
Give me a link.
Just have a look. It's like, it's like fucking hell, it's so in depth, the content. I've got the eyes, the emotion that I get. Fish fingers on the table, get cut. All right, mum. Just finish that shit up.
I think the best one is on their team, on the HLTV pictures, Dead Fox has just got a really small face, like in the middle of his massive head. It's just like too tiny, like. It's like when you do that fucking meme when you shrink people's face down to make them look stupid.
Yeah, it does actually.
Look at that, mate. Wow, how's he got so much fucking facial space, but just a tiny little face? There's free real estate all over his chops, mate. It's fucked up. Anyway, well, I don't know why we're doing this. What has this podcast become? This is fucking straight garbage.
My hero when I was a boy was a man called Roy Walker, and he taught me to say what I see. Yeah. And if I say what I see, I will defeat Mr. Chips, who to me was some sort of television Illuminati when I was a boy.
It's good to know. No one knows what catchphrase is, by the way, apart from me and you.
If they did, though, all those references hit like a motherfucker.
Right. But
so
anyway,
shout out to Beryl and Edith who are watching the show now.
But anyway, so it's had like a great tournament and got the MVP despite being on the losing side. And I'll say this while we're talking about Dead Foxes and this incredibly tiny face. Like HellRaisers were really, really solid here. Like Angel was fucking great. Bondic was like played really, really well. Actually, they look like a team now that could transition into being a tier 1 team. It's just the Dead Fox issue that I know everyone's got. Like every team has to have the guy that does the donkey work, so to speak. But if you're not even going to do it well, if you're not going to do the donkey work well, the water carrying well, you have to go and find a player of that type that would be willing to join. And I think HellRaisers have enough stock in the marketplace now where they could realistically do it. I don't know any HellRaiser fan that thinks Dead Fox brings anything of value to the team. And if you look at how sort of close some of the rounds were in that final against North, there were big swings in the game where HellRaisers definitely could have gone on a tear. If they'd won this round, the economy would have favored them, and the score lines could be inversed. And unfortunately, Dead Fox is still just not holding his weight in this roster. Everyone else, though, for me, performing well above expectations. Woxic as well was really, really good. I actually think HellRaisers, like I say, I think if they can nail down that solid fifth, I think tournaments like this are going to be things that they win in the future. I think we could see them conceivably win like a tier 2 LAN in 2018, but they got to fix the Dead Fox problem. I don't know if you concur with that assessment.
Well, one of the problems I feel like the HellRaisers team has is as soon as I saw that, like, not only Woxic, who obviously like broke out first, but especially it was like after the first couple of events this year where Issa started having some decent matches. Right, okay, you could already see they had some good firepower. So the problem is they had like upset team written all over them, but in like not like the ideal way. Because the ideal upset team is a team that are like really good. They're like whatever level, 7, 8, and they could beat some of the 2, 3, 4 teams or play them close, but also will maintain that 7, 8 status. So you have to kind of be ready to sort of opportunistically move up the ladder when you can, move up the tournament placing, but you're going to also have consistency. And that's the downside, is it looks like because they are just going off these individual players at the moment, they also kind of like play to the level of their opponent in a way, because they can lose to worse teams as well. And that's the part that's a bit underwhelming. Because I agree, on paper, from what they've done in earlier tournaments this year, and especially against much better teams, they've had a whole bunch of times they've won a map off a really strong team. They should clean up this tournament. So the fact that they're struggling and even getting beaten, it's like, and as you say, with someone who had the best stats of the tournament, like, that's a bit concerning, actually. So I kind of agree with you. Dead Fox is kind of dead weight here, especially if someone like Woxic is going to AWP every now and then. Like, what's the point in having him? So to me, again, I don't actually know if they can convince other people to come to their team, but this is a team for me where, okay, so Team Liquid just took in Taco. If they could get like a Taco, NBK, one of these people who will do what you're saying, like be a facilitator, that would be, and hopefully a veteran, someone who's not a youngster, that'd be the piece that could make them a legit team.
I mean, for me, I think that would be like going too far down, or rather too far up the trough. In terms, I don't think they could nail a player of that caliber.
That's the thing. I don't know if he's going to come to Hellraisers, because the problem is, despite all the good qualities of the team, I don't know if they're going to pay the salary that one of these people is going to want.
This is the thing. They're hamstrung by the fact that we know the organization is down with some fucking weird shit, like Angel having some mad blood pact that means he can never leave. And by the way, while we're talking about great in-game leaders, I mean, Angel has turned... Like, I remember when we were singing Sean Gare's praises for this. He's basically turned a bunch of fucking unknowns, again, unproven players, into another cohesive team. I think there's probably not many in-game leaders in World Counter-Strike that get as much mileage out of their players as Angel does. It's actually fucking phenomenal. And when you think about guys like Zeus, who were fucking getting by on, like, mad levels of past glory and just literally getting carried by 2 of the best players in the world now, not just one, and still somehow conspiring not to win tournaments. In a different universe, Angel joined Na'Vi. Think about what that team would look like now.
Oh, the sick thing is, I think the same thing when I watch both Gambit and Na'Vi. Like, just give Angel one of these teams, even if it can't be Na'Vi. Give him fucking Gambit. The guy will go ham.
And what we're talking actually about possible replacements for Dead Fox. You remember those 2 Vegas Squadron players?
Yes.
That went into free agency.
Mir and Kashanda, right?
Yeah, Mir and Kashanda. That's where HellRaisers need to go knocking, I think. Because the only other option I could think of in my mind is if Mouseports decided to bite the bullet and remove Sticko, which I think would be a mistake. But Mouseports have floundered a little bit. But again, I don't understand how Mir and Kashanda have been in free agency for this long. Like, again, for me, Na'Vi have got to go. Like, Mir is a hot property, in my opinion. I think if Na'Vi went and got Mir and dropped Edwards, all of a sudden, now we're rolling. Now I think Na'Vi have really got something, even with the Zeus factor. But Mir for Dead Fox would be fucking sick. But anyway, I thought HellRaisers did really well here, and I definitely think if they can get a good 5th, I think that's it. I think they go all the way over, and they can start winning tournaments like DreamHack Tours, which again, in 2017, it was unthinkable to me that we would be talking about HellRaisers within that kind of broader context. Now, in terms of other things that went on at this LAN, I won't dwell too much on it, because obviously the big one is the EPS finals. I thought there was a few other sort of interesting storylines. I think we can safely say EnVyUs is now over. I think it was Haji tweeted out after this that, end of an adventure or something. And it's like, mate, I'm glad you had a good time, because no one else was having a good time watching this shower of shit. Like, let's be real here. The EnVyUs games, right? Imagine being in front of a home crowd and like you just cannot get it up. You know what I mean? Like you just cannot fucking perform, right? Like. Yeah, even for a struggling team, a live home crowd is the Viagra that fucking gets you up, makes you. Not even here. Their like matches were just so fucking like embarrassing. They trying to think. They lost. So they start. I think they started out strong. Didn't they get a win over HellRaisers on day one? If I remember rightly, but then they got wrecked by North, and then in the rematch against HellRaisers, got absolutely comprehensively crushed on Mirage and Train. That was it. And in particular, the last map, Train, which if you remember, EnVyUs are always like dangling about how they fucking fancy that one, right? Like we actually can perform on that map. It was 16-2. So that was like their farewell match. Like just complete lack of motivation. Let's just fucking get out of there. Like, thanks, crowd. Thank you. Thanks, fans. Just awful. And like I say, it doesn't surprise me at all. I think with everything that's been going on, I know we've talked a lot about EnVyUs lately. Like, Hastro is obviously seems to be a lot more invested and a lot more vocal about Dallas Fuel, about the Overwatch team. Than he ever is about EnVyUs right now. Plus, he's got his a child on the way. I honestly just think EnVyUs is going to pull out a CS:GO at this point. I don't think we'll see an EnVyUs CS team for a while. And he, it's a good move at this point. I don't think anyone really benefits. I feel a little bit sorry for Kiyoshima. Comes back and starts is the best performer in the team at their last two outings. Can't fix anything. It's too late, So.
What a waste of time these last few years have been.
Well, all right. Last major, you've got to give it the caveat that if, what would have happened if RPK didn't get sick?
Still wouldn't have made the fucking Legends.
No, but who knows, right? Like, keep in mind, that was RPK playing the best CSGO of his career in CSGO, right? Like, and then unfortunately gets struck down when and they have to use Malek, right? Like, there have been misfortunes. I'm not saying, just to try and play a little bit of devil's advocate. But yeah, I agree. I think it has been a waste of time. Yeah. I think they've been directionless, and again, they don't have any tactics or anything. I am like watching these games, and it's like it's even just Counter-Strike fundamentals that aren't getting done. They don't flash when they go for a peek. Like, no one's flashing for the person that's going to go for the entry. And they find themselves, like, a man or two down at the start of way too many rounds, like, on the T side. The CT setups are really uninspired and predictable. It's like everybody on the team has just given up. Even RPK, since he come back, hasn't been any great shake. And as I said, the only one who's really performing is Kiyoshima. The last couple of outings because he needs this. He sat in fucking free agency with a huge buyout for FaZe, finally gets out of it, gets to come back to a team playing with players he's familiar with. And, oh yeah, sorry, Keo, we've just given up. You were just a fucking roll of the dice, by the way. Like, if you don't carry every game, we're doing nothing. Love, happy. So what do you do? Like, so yeah, I'm just glad it's over, man. I cannot think of a team that over a 12-month period has had a capitulation like this. It's up there with Virtus Pro in my opinion.
Is why I don't even bother going in on Happy anymore. Because at this point, I don't even need to point it out. There is no opposition to the position anymore. There's no one like, hey, give him a break because, you're right, actually. No, he's not even that good. The team's garbage. It doesn't matter how many good players you give him. If anything, they get worse. Seems to have literally, like, here's the thing. You could be a person like, okay, so when Happy does interviews, even people need to know the context. Even when he was winning championships, he didn't have any sort of like personality, and he never hyped himself up in it. Really, he just was sort of like, yeah, whatever. We played the tournament. Like, even if he won the major, so you have to realize that isn't a current symptom, but. The difference is in the team, it seems like he's the same as that now. Like, no one even looks to him for like, oh, fuck, where's the drive and the motivation? It's like the same thing with MSL. Like, so MSL always gave like rubbish answers that are like, oh, yeah, we're just trying really hard. The difference was people didn't tend to leave his team and go, yeah, just fuck all that guy, Like, there was something there for them to respect. So even worse than the fact EnVyUs is ending, Rich, is this is a player who's like a Hall of Fame level player in Happy where the fuck's he going? Because you notice not a single one of these teams is considering him. Like, they're considering existence, or it was going to be MBK, or I think apparently nothing. So
but
he's not even
doing
on
like
the
that
menu.
existing, where he's like holding on to this idea where he has to be an in-game leader. And it's like, listen, motherfucker, no. Like, maybe there was an era where, yes, you could get away with what you do as an in-game leader. I think that's evidenced by the fact that this guy has been in successful teams. And we've seen, like, you know, not mega sophisticated tactics. I think Happy's approach always was more of a brute force execute kind of style, with him kind of like just mopping up the fucking gravy around the back. Like, that's fine. It worked at a time. We're past that now. Like, when you look, okay, if you were to take a demo of EnVyUs and you were to take a demo of Astralis and you were to show these two demos to, like, I don't know, a layman in Counter-Strike, the layman would understand everything EnVyUs are doing, but they would be asking questions about what Astralis are doing. That's how, like, just basic it is by contrast and comparison. And unfortunately, I don't think Happy, maybe he doesn't feel confident doing high-level tactics with the players he has. I could understand that being true, but I also think that that's just never been his jam. And yet he still persists under this idea he has to be the in-game leader. Now, I'll tell you this. I'd take Happy as a player. I would definitely take Happy as a player in a French team, but absolutely not as an in-game leader. No. And I you're right. I don't know where he ends up. It's interesting as well. It always makes me laugh about him having the fucking surname Schopenhauer, because wasn't it Schopenhauer who fucking said life without pain has no meaning? Well, like, in Happy's fucking case, like, Counter-Strike without pain has no meaning. It's just always got to be difficult. It's always got to be his way. There hasn't really been an evolution of his play style, no matter what players he's working with, no matter what the meta is, no matter what changes have happened to the game. Like, enough's enough, man. Like, you got to realize, does he strike you as one of these guys, by the way, who fastidiously pores over, like, when was the last time you saw Happy pull out reams of paper like Existence or Carrigan or Emma? I don't think it works that way. And again, it's not like he's a leader of men either. It's not like he commands respect. You remember
he was basically one of those guys where he had sort of like a little trick. Like, who knows what it was? Maybe it was some feel for the game of when to do something. Obviously, he was the most unique leader in as much as he was the star player and the lurker, but was calling strats that worked, as in had results. Like, listen, you can't deny the results. They were winning. They had some amazing T-halves on certain maps. Like those two, they were fucking sick. Yeah, they were a really great team to watch. They were exciting. So whatever his trick was, unfortunately, the reason I'm saying it's like a trick is because I don't even think he necessarily knew how it worked, and there wasn't really a science to it, you know. So the problem is, when you lose that, you're fucked utterly. I've seen it happen in other games. Like, probably the best example would be in games like StarCraft. You see something similar. It's not like the person winning has like the best mechanics, or they're just a genius and they figure out all the best new build orders. There's someone like who maybe just is like has an amazing sense for what timing to hit someone with, like an early attack that they won't be ready for, or to throw them off. Like, oh, I didn't think he'd be going this tech path if he went at this timing. Right? The people who do that, it's the same quality with them. It's not that they forgot how to play the game or they didn't evolve or whatever. It's that somehow when either everyone else clicks into what you're doing, or you don't have that same amazing timing, it just looks shit and you just look like an idiot, even though you're probably doing the same sort of thing you were doing before. So I think if you want to give a good example of someone, take his counterpart from the same era. Same thing with Pronax. This was a guy who made his whole career off having all this great timing of when to move his star players around. Currently, nobody wants to play with him. People even who do that style are much, much better at the Carrigans of the world, you know. So unfortunately, as it is right now, Counter-Strike's left Happy behind and he's just in denial still. He's like that fuck who's like out doing his 17th like tour, like, oh, we're going to maybe put out new material next year, folks, and please give generously. Anyway, next one will be Death Ball, the one you all came to hear. Kirishima, shoot to the head. Waiting for that one tired old groupie that looks like the fucking couch that's all peeling back. Like,
maybe he's watched that Anvil documentary like one too many times, dude. But yeah, it's just, I know.
He needs a fucking cartoon anvil to his head, like Wile E. Coyote style, or a fucking cannonball up his ass.
Reasonable. And the other team I wanted to talk about, you alluded to it earlier, was obviously Gambit. Hard to kind of believe, really, that this is a team that, you know, with players that won a major in very recent memory, now going to DreamHack Tour and sort of struggling, you know, to get through. I mean, first of all, they had a double overtime against Talked in a best of one. They lost to Godsent in a best of one. They had a pretty close series against AGO. Then obviously lost to North in a best of
also
three.
just never wins by like big margins anymore, by the way. Every win gets 16-14. So it's always unconvincing as fuck.
Yeah. So I don't really know what's going on here, because it's like what's crazy is one of the things that was always holding Gambit back was, like, you know, how consistent could Mo be, right? Like, but he was probably their best player at this tournament. He took over whole games.
At his level.
Well, this is the best I think I've ever seen him play, honestly. Like, I was watching him. He was absolutely sick this tournament. Adrian was up and down. I think there's an issue here where it's like they've got kind of a lot of people who have all put their hand in and tried to be an in-game leader at various points. And I just wonder now if they're lacking like a sort of clear and cohesive vision about how to play the game. Like, maybe too many cooks are spoiling the broth.
They also, like, for me, one thing I really hate about the Gambit team is once you get past Hobbit, everyone else in this team is like a fucking wearied journeyman player who's played so long and so many tournaments that, unfortunately, like, the upside is with not having like great success now, someone who didn't view it as a job would just say, fuck it, I'll just pack it in, like, this isn't working anymore. Now the upside is they keep playing, but unfortunately you do get the vibe from these players that they just played. It's like it's all blood into one. It's like a million tournaments in a row, and they're just like, right, we go to this one, try our best. Didn't go quite as well as I hoped. We'll try and improve on that and fix our mistakes. And like, come on, man. Like, I don't think they even believe they're going to the top again. Like, there's everything in this team says is just like terrible morale, basically, because even just with the players they have, they should be able to get more wins than this. You know, they should still be a dangerous team, even if they didn't have great leadership and strats, etc. They got some super good players. Like, I still think some of these players could be at the top level. So I feel like this is one of those things where surely within a few months you've got to do something drastic. You've got to blow it up in some way.
Well, let's be real as well, though. I mean, they still have one of the best young players in the world, like with Hobbit, right? Like, I mean, he's still hot property. Adrian's gone off the boil. That makes me think he's doing the like in-game leading again, because his stats seem to have taken a hit. He wasn't the player he was like 3 months ago. But like, I know. I still look at this questionable seized pickup, man. Like, I still do not understand, like, why in any way they thought he was going to be the solution to whatever problems they were having.
Think about this, okay? This is a really depressing thought, right? In a world in which, for whatever reason, Adren and Hobbit also won't leave their team, a la Angel in HellRaisers, then obviously you hope to yourself, right, okay, they can't leave. Well, there's still another direction you can make great moves in and make this a good team. You bring players into the team. Look at who their last two pickups are. Fitch, complete nobody, probably free, coming from Kazakhstan that they just know because they're from the Kazakhstan scene. Then they get seized, the least sort of attractive, obviously not physically, he's absolutely fantastic. It's like fucking Tony Stark made an Iron Man robot that was just meant to look like the perfect genetically engineered human from fucking test tube. Looked like him, wouldn't it? But in terms of as a player, the least attractive free agent in the entire CIS region, assuming Shara ever found his way out of the fucking labyrinth with the Minotaur below that street. That cunt's wearing the fucking golden fleece down there. He never came back. He's in fucking Pat's lab.
He's dropped the Minotaur, man.
That was fucking hilarious when Shara fell down that fucking pit.
It was. It's the way he was like an NPC in a game like The Sims. He was just running around in a blind. He had to come in with a trank gun. And then I think just before he went out, Blade whispered in his ear, "Clever girl."
Oh God. Oh man, yeah, it was a fucking that was a fucking joke. But anyway, look, I'll get Sam to bring this graph up.
I still can't believe that happened in real life, Rich. A man was just on stage, just turned around, I'm straight down this hole. He was trying to find a secret level in Mario or something. Just like, no. Is there any coins down here?
It's mental. It's the maddest thing that's ever happened. That and no one even talks about it now because unfortunately it happened to a fucking player that was just garbage. So what can you do? But anyway, like,
right, if that was like Forrest that fell down there, everyone would be, "Oh, fucking get well soon." Instead, everyone was like, "Lol, have you seen this?" It's like, look at the moment when he falls. He almost died.
So, Sam, bring this graph up and see if people can notice a pattern here, because people like visuals. Now, this is a graph that basically shows performance based on HLTV stats since November 2012. I've had people say, you're a fucking moron, Richard. These graphs only show you the past 3 months, because it says sliding window of rating for matches in the past 3 months to 1 day increments.
And then obviously what they do then is, Rich, they go, right, in the past 3 months, and then their brain just goes, right, it's taken a lot of energy, just shut it down there. You've got it off. No, but I've got peripheral on that. No, I'm going to need you to shut it down, or I'm going to have to turn your balls off. Right, shut it down. Yeah. Richard, and then you are wrong. It's only for 3 months. Is their eyes looking like November? Nope, you don't need to see that. So the 3 months. I will inform you, Richard, it's only 3 months.
Right, I've had people do that to me. Like literally every time I bring up these graphs, it's got the fucking year at the bottom, guys. It's there, November 12. That doesn't mean the 12th of November. That is the fucking year, you fucking cretins. And just click on how many fucking maps they're meant to have played. Like, do you know what I mean? So add it all up. Oh, in 3 months you have played 10,000 maps, have you? Like, fucking get your fucking head out your ass. But anyway, you can see there, right? Like, round about August 2016, 2 months ago, guys, he was still a very functional player, certainly above average, prone to having performances where he would take over whole games. We were still talking about him as being one of the bedrocks of Na'Vi at that point. Then it's just off a fucking cliff, and he hasn't come close to getting back to it. This is now not like, oh, he's just in a bad run of form. It's like, it's almost 2 fucking years. It's 2 years he hasn't been good enough to play in a top team. And so why Gambit went out and picked him up, I don't know. And he's done nothing since joining that makes me think this was the solution to whatever problem they envisioned. Like, at this juncture, I think they either need to fucking commit to getting like a full-time in-game leader, which I don't know who that would be. Or again, you go out and you get one of these fucking players from a smaller organization that you can definitely afford, that have proven they could play well. Like Quantum Bellator Fire, go buy one of these guys. Vegas Squadron, go buy one of these guys. You either just say to Adrian, like, sorry, mate, you're gonna have to be the in-game leader because you've got a rookie, Mo, and fucking Doja as the core of your team. Sorry, mate, you're the one with the brain. It's gonna have to be you. Right? And go get another piece of firepower, or you go get an IGL and Adrian goes back to just being a fragger like he was, 6 months ago or whatever. But C's was, I don't know, he just does nothing for me in this lineup, mate. It's like, it's one of the most weird pickups I think I've ever seen. It wasn't even like he was, a desired property. And they probably had to, I don't know if they had to buy him or not. Was he still in contract at Na'Vi?
Well, the things after that, he played in Flipside, if you remember. So I'm not sure. I don't really know what happened with that.
Yeah.
I think the problem is, though, if you look at the core of the Gambit squad, if people remember, this used to be the old HellRaisers. Dosia, Adren, Moore was in towards the end. And the problem with that squad, if you remember, was they famously were like a super dangerous team in the early days. And it's like every 6 months went by, they just gradually dropped a level. And one of the things they famously did in that team was just hold on to the same old players, basically until the players quit almost, like just forever. So it's not a great sign going forwards, because this doesn't look like a team that is going to make aggressive moves either way. Like, that's one of the problems with when you've made the Counter-Strike your career and you really want to go every single month to a tournament. You don't want to take a risk on some new guy when at least you know vaguely what this guy is like. You know, it's going to be all right, you know. So they won't gamble.
So we'll do some news before we get into the ESL Pro League. First up, sad news for one of our sort of regulars ever since he rose to prominence. IMI has left NRG. That was their coach. And so it's a case of fucking bring jobs, isn't it? Because he's fucking bring dole.
Not another person from Liverpool who's unemployed. Fucking hell. All right, well...
But
don't keep the stereotype up, Rathan, mate. Fucking hell.
Is what's fucking bad about it, right? Like, think about all the great work he's done. Like, pretty much this team took off. Do you need another line, mate? Good. Just checking, right? But think about it. NRG started taking off once IMI joined, right? And then he they've done all this great work, all these great results. He gets turned down for a visa to attend the Dallas event, straight out on his ass. Now, I don't know if that's a reason.
Yeah, gives visa. Yeah, gives a visa. Because the thing is, I bought a child's visa to America, but I'm not a child, and I need to get to a job interview at 11. So can I have a visa? Nah, you need a form and all that. Oh, come on, you daft cunt. I've got guns. I mean, no, I haven't got guns. But if I was in America with carry laws, I would have guns. Anyway, can I have one? Daft cunt. Oh, whatever. Your mum. Doing one of those. What was that thing they used to do in the 90s where you flick your fingers together?
When you just make the noise.
Why?
I can't do it.
I never could do that neither. Anyway, so I think he's been dealt a real fucking harsh hand here. Like, I think, like, you come in, you prove yourself as a coach. It's one of your first high-profile coaching roles. The team does really, really well. Sure, you can't get a visa. I don't know if this points to, like, the plans of the organization, like, whether they wanted him to come and live with them in America or, like, what. And as soon as the visa was kaput, because obviously once you get declined for a visa, you have to wait, like, I don't know, 6 to 12 months or something before you can apply again. So I don't know if that was it, but it seems real fucking harsh to me to just cut him loose like that. After all the good work he did, like, maybe he doesn't have the title coach. Maybe you keep him on as an analyst. Like, I know it looked really fucking ungrateful and cold to me to just cut him loose. I don't know what you made of it, if anything.
I mean, it was a bit of a pick-up out of left field in the first place, because obviously this guy wasn't really, like, famously a coach. He was obviously a player in, like, Endpoint about a few months ago. It wasn't even that long ago. I remember when I did Gfinity, he was there. So I will say, yeah, if you've had results with a team, it seems a bit unusual to kick you this early. Like, normally they at least wait till it takes a dip, and then, you know, it's obviously politically very easy to kick someone when the results aren't that good with the team. So I unfortunately suspect, because remember, the other side of this is that they just announced that ImaPet is joining. And so if I had to guess, first of all, he already has connections to, I think he knows, like, people like Daps already in the past. Obviously, he's an NA coach, whereas he comes from the UK. So I would suspect some of that's just political. It's one of those stories where they just thought that was an upgrade.
Yeah, well, why? Like, explain it to me, because, like, I see this ImaPet guy, he gets talked about all the time. And I just think...
Here's the thing. He's an example of someone who was smart, because what he did, if you remember, was when FNS joined CLG again, was when they had that team that had a couple of good results. Like, they made the playoffs at Star Series, and they, like, beat out, like, Immortals or something in Gambit, if you remember. Then they went to that DreamHack Summer. I think they beat, like, SK Gaming on a fucking game or something, and, like, played against, I think, Fnatic maybe. So anyway, they were having, like, you know, some pretty legit results. And that is when he, like, parlayed that, since he was the coach of it, into getting hired for OpTic, if you remember. But obviously then, when he was with OpTic, those lineups just never worked out, and they had a lot of problems with them, and he was let go from there recently. So I suspect he might be an all right coach. It's just that I think he probably rode the wave of that to a better job, and then it was kind of exposed that maybe he wasn't some super duper coach, and now he's back down to what is probably a reasonable level for him. It's a decent enough team.
Yeah, but again, let's be clear. This is a team that is, like, one of the most promising teams in NA, with some of the most promising players in NA. I think, I know, like, I wouldn't want a relatively unproven
Man, I don't know what they're doing with coaches in NA. Like, I still don't know how Valence is in that team. Is he someone's brother or something? What the fuck's got? Like, he seems also like, yeah, I'm sure he does the fucking demo watching and all that, but like, is that it? Is that all? Is that all? I mean, it should just be called analysts, shouldn't they? Why are you calling them a coach?
Yeah, this is what I mean. No, but so this is what I sort of. It's not that I have a problem with ImaPet, right? Because I never met the dude. We never talked. But like, there's one quote that really stuck out as being super cringy to me, and it kind of like just made me yeah. So I've sent it to Sam. It was when Stanislaw was talking about the OpTic situation, and obviously we remember there was the Danish split. You did a fucking belting video breaking it all down. So that was the Danish split and the North American split, and ImaPet was sort of obviously on the North American side of things. But he did this quote, like someone was like talking about like what did the coach do in all of this. Basically he came in to a thread and sort of like defended himself, which I don't have an issue with that. But he said some stuff over the course of that where I thought, come on, mate, you're talking like you're fucking Clint Eastwood. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, somebody said ImaPet was the coach, but ImaPet is more like an analyst in the coach role than a coach, kind of like Valence from Cloud9, which I think is a fair assessment. Like, me and you agree with that. I don't think there are any coaches that actually coach in NA outside of Zeus, coaching being keeping the locker room in check, preventing tilt, etc. And he replied saying, that's an interesting take. I tell you, I do more than just watch demos. And then the person went, I'm comparing you to a guy like fucking Zeus, who you see, that like, there's no argument that Zeus definitely does he basically is an IGL, and sort of is behind people telling them what to do, and people listen to him. He's got that respect. That was, if you remember, why Stanislaw isn't in Liquid anymore. He tried to say, no, we're doing it my way, and Zeus and the players went, nah, actually, Zeus has got this. So the quote he said is, I keep my locker room in check. I do all I can to make things work. There's some extreme, right, you see immediately, I was like, ugh. There's some extreme circumstances that not a single person in my spot could have fixed, in my opinion. I wish I could go into more detail, but I can't. There isn't much for people to find out about me. So I understand where these assumptions come from. It's just annoying when people are making a false narrative. And so, well, what have you ever done to disprove that fucking false narrative?
On, man. What even is this? I know what you mean. Like, why this particular like set of phrasing or vernacular? Like, listen, man, I keep my locker room in check. Just walking in like, oh, what up, dog? Listen, playboy. I'm talking to you, God. Where you at? Like he's getting in people's grills as he just fucking tested motherfuckers. I wish a motherfucker would.
All right.
Anyway.
But just analyze the fucking statement. Which locker room exactly did you keep in check? Was it the CLG locker room? Where that team completely capitulated and fell apart? Was it that locker room? Or was it the OpTic locker room that completely capitulated?
Well, wait a minute.
Locker room?
Where did he get this rep from, this attitude, right? Because all these other teams seem like just chilled out teams and he's done just being a coach. But he's made it sound like the first day in the CLG locker room, he's taken that like approach you take in prison where you just attack someone randomly. And then obviously there's some hype man behind you like, he's fucking crazy. Everyone just do what he says. And he's like, listen, Coaster, get the fuck up, you little bitch. Give me that up. And he's like... And he goes, listen, he straightens them all. I didn't have to do that to you, Kenny. Oh, look, there you go. Straightened you all out. You're looking nice. Now come here, son. And then he's like, and any of y'all that step out of control, best believe I will check you before I motherfucking wreck you. Yeah, my name's ImaPet, and you're on the leash now, bitch.
Like he's got fucking Stanislaw just holding on to his pocket, walking around the fucking yard with him, like, And
then Stanislaw the whole time is just going, I'm in charge of it. This is my idea.
You're being penny wise but pound foolish, ain't you pretty? It's absolute teabag reference. It's absolute fucking nonsense. Like, where's the locker room he kept in check when every team he's been associated with has capitulated due to
also don't say that after this particular OpTic team's just broken up, where it's like the least in check locker room ever, where everyone's just fucking run tell dat. And Stanislaw's literally like, oh, I know you guys feel like I haven't been very honest with you, so I'd like to present my new French novel of the 19th century, OpTic Gaming, the truth. Just like, I wandered lonely as a cloud.
It's just...
I was config talking about me in Danish.
But anyway, listen, he's obviously got strengths, but I agree with you. I think there's an issue in Counter-Strike in general. For me, when you talk about a coach, sure, you may have coaches that have strengths and weaknesses, but in the same way you would talk about a coach in sports, you would say, well, maybe Mourinho isn't as strong as tactics as he is man management, for example, right? But he obviously can do both. He's one of the most accomplished coaches in world football. This guy, as far as I can tell, is basically an analyst. And sure, I'm sure he talks to players and does the bare minimum when he's behind them, but he doesn't give me a vibe that he's like a Zonic type of guy. Like, he doesn't seem to have that like life experience, command that respect from his players.
Plus, if you look at this, right, what's really suspicious is the reason why all the great man management coaches in all sports give fucking amazing interviews is because giving an interview is the same concept as man management. It is the art of persuasion. How can you be charismatic and get someone to buy into your idea, or to even just hear you out and then to think your way and to go, all right, I see where you're coming from. That is the skill. So if you are one of these people, and there's a few of them in the scene who they never say anything, or everything on Twitter is just some generic, like, well, you tried a good game and better luck next time. Like, it's just obvious you don't have that skill, mate. It's like, I once made this point, I'll give you a good analogy, to Noah Winston, actually. It's in the upcoming interview I've got with him about like why PEA went badly, etc. And I said to him, like, one of the most ridiculous parts of that was, what you're basically telling me is every single NA owner couldn't even sell their own players on the PEA being really good. Like, that's when you should have known you were in deep shit. When people who already trust and follow you, you couldn't sell them on the pitch that it was a good thing for them. So like, likewise with a coach, that's what the skill of man management is. Like, even if the team breaks up, it shouldn't be like this. Like, you obviously didn't keep your locker room in order if everyone ran and told. So, yeah, kind of ridiculous. It's one of those examples, though, of where I would just imagine he doesn't know what it means to keep a locker room in check. So he probably thinks he did his best. Like, that bit where he's put that, like, no one else could have fixed it. Like, come on, man. You're not that good, are you? You're not like fucking Columbo. If you can't solve it, well, just leave that one. No one will ever solve this mystery.
Yeah, like you're saying, I think he's joining. I think this is like a real precarious time to join. Because we saw NRG at 2 international events now, and they did fall a little bit short. And now you've gone from changing the coach, and now the players are kind of starting to have that doubt. And we've said the one thing this team needs, because they were making inexcusable errors in these games, call it nerves, call it lack of experience, call it whatever the fuck you want, but what they need is an older, wiser, smarter leader. This guy is going there as a coach. He's supposed to command the respect of the players. He's as young as most of them. Like, fuck off. Like, that is not going to work. So I'll call it now. I'll do my bold call. Get wrecked in 3 months. But I think NRG are going to go on a downward tick now. And I don't think it's going to do anything for his stock or the team stock. I don't think this is the right appointment. A lot of people are saying, oh, you couldn't get better in NA. Fuck it. Roll the dice. What this team needs is somebody that can keep you've got the players, you've got the talent on the roster. You just need somebody who can be a bit calm and give them an extra dimension, when fucking Daps is found a little bit wanting or is a little bit flustered. That's it. That was all this needed. But I don't know. We'll wait and see. Now, another bit of news. There's been changes to Nuke and an update in Counter-Strike, the game itself. They've also made some hitbox changes because, as we've known for years, there's been problems when shooting people in the back of the head. Sometimes it won't register as a headshot. A lot of times it won't register as a headshot.
No big deal there, then.
Yeah, no big deal. And they fixed it, and they fixed it by adding a neck hitbox, which is great. And obviously made changes to Nuke in a bid to kind of try and make this map viable on the kind of competitive level. So I'll ask you, Duncan,
these motherfuckers double down more than CNN.
Well, so they've changed the
Nuke now. Right, is that what they're now telling us? And that if we don't like it, that we're part of the supremacy, we won't give new voices like Nuke a chance in the scene.
No. But what they've done is they've changed the way the lower bomb site works. So the vents don't go straight onto the site. You have to come onto the stairs near the double doors, and now the toxic room isn't there. So this is, I guess, to stop the kind of quick vent dives, just to make things a little bit harder for the terrorists to gain access to that site. Now, again, I don't know if you've had a run around or, had a look at these changes. And obviously, I haven't seen any competitive games on it yet. or got any professional player insight. I still don't know if this is going to be what the map needed, honestly, to sort of make it viable on a competitive level. But did you have any thoughts about this change?
I mean, I still think the map's just like, you can change whatever you want. The flaws on it seem to be like massive macro flaws. So I don't really know how much these tweaks really do. Like, do they actually make it that much better? It's also actually interesting timings, is if you notice, the teams obviously still didn't play Nuke much, but actually one of the interesting details was that the new Astralis team is like unbeaten on that map and actually has like, I think they won like 8 or 9 times on it. So it actually was going to be played a little bit more perhaps. So I don't really know where it goes, because the problem is the teams that play it at the moment will just remain the only teams that play it, like Mouseports, Astralis, maybe a little bit of FaZe or something, but I think generally everyone will just avoid it. So you can just never redeem certain maps, I think.
Yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. I'll see what the pro players come out and say about it once it's kind of gone into the cycle. But I mean, it's quite clear to me that Valve have no desire to sort of remove Nuke from the pool and do a rework of their rework, which is fine. Look, I like the idea of Nuke, and I used to like it in previous versions of Counter-Strike. Not so much in Source, I'll be honest, because until the French kind of sort of broke the meta and how it was played, it was a game where it was a map where the games would very often have 14-1, 13-2 CT halves. Like, you would see that a lot. But in 1.6, I always thought Nuke was an entertaining map, like an iconic map. Interesting because it had that verticality, different ways to play as CT, lots of spam points. So I just don't know if it's a map that can work in CSGO and how the game works mechanically. And maybe it needs to be kind of thought about a little bit more, because it is a unique map. But I don't know. I've never liked it since it's been reintroduced, and I still don't, despite its numerous reworks. So there was that. I think that's pretty much covered all of the news. Oh, come on, and I'll get your thoughts about that Chinese stuff we were talking about before we went live. So I did a video on it, so people can go out and watch that in detail. But just to give you the cliff notes, I've been saying since fucking forever that now that the Chinese are sort of getting more and more into Counter-Strike, like, first of all, never bet on a Chinese game. Like, just never do that. Second of all, there's going to be all sorts of issues going on over in China that literally cannot be fixed by any entity, not even Valve themselves, who have to partner up with Perfect World because of how Chinese laws work. Basically, if you want to do business in China, you have to partner with a Chinese business and share the profits.
It's the same in Korea as well, by the way.
Yeah, or you're not allowed in the space. And what happened with this Fierce Tiger team is the most shady shit I think I've ever seen, coming out of China even. Now, keep in mind, I saw a bunch of shady shit from Chinese organizations back in the days of StarCraft, back in the days of League of Legends, where it was like there was literal ties to fucking organized crime, all sorts of weird stories, match fixing, dubious player transfers, players that could leave the team suddenly agreeing to sign unfavorable contracts and stay at organizations and not get their market value, saying, haha, I am very happy to be here, when it's very fucking clear they're not. We saw the nonsense with Tai Lu, where because players had tried to leave, guess what? Fuck you. You're not allowed to do that. You will stay, and any attempt to leave will be met with basically being blackballed in the region. It's a complicated region with a lot of corruption that ranges from petty to extreme. Now, what happened with Fierce Tiger was, first of all, they were competing in something called the CSGO Asian Championships, a $300,000 tournament where their hot young prospect player that had played on the roster for like a month got VAC banned, getting them eliminated from the tournament. Then, and I watched a demo of him last night on stream. It is the most blatant bullshit I've seen in a professional game. Like, the fact that he got VAC banned obviously gives you the knowledge as you're watching, but nobody said anything. And there was some blatant moments in that demo. I'm going to cut together like a highlight reel. And this was against Tai Lu in a must-win game. So why didn't anyone from Tyloo say anything publicly? Why did no Chinese fans or journalists say anything publicly? Nobody said anything about this when it was like patently obvious watching it. This guy had a Warlock on. So anyway, he gets back banned. They get disqualified from that tournament. Maybe the story ends there. Well, no, at the same time, they're queued up to go into the Asian Minor, which is obviously a Valve-sanctioned tournament being run by FaZe It. Now, get this for a run of results. Their first game, the team turns up and apparently doesn't type ready in time for the match to start.
Wait a minute. My FaZe It opponents are playing in a fucking team in China. You know how many times that happens in FaZe It? Like one person doesn't ready up. Not in a tournament game though, surely.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Obviously, you have to type ready, but yeah, didn't ready up.
So you mean basically PJ and Duncan would have been some of the best and most punctual players of Counter-Strike of all time?
They were ready to rumble. But yes, the more straight shit 90s references no one's going to get except me and you.
Biker Grow.
I searched every part of my brain trying to figure out who those
I'm
people
going to do the move, PJ, when I got blinded by a paintball lake. It's fucking Biker Grow.
That was traumatic as fuck, man. That was like Nam for me.
Put me off paintball, that did.
I mean, paintball's shit anyway, isn't it?
Well, I suppose leaving the house, not a fan.
Anyway, garbage. It's just basically Quake but without computers.
Yeah.
So anyway, the first opponents didn't type ready in, and the game was just a forfeit. Then the second opponents came along, and only one player seemed to be capable of typing ready. Right. So
the implication here is this is match fixing.
Well. Why are these teams turning up to games and then just, bloody hell?
Like, the night before, the team that was going to play them was like, can't wait for the game tonight. And then all of a sudden someone's like, it would be a good thing if you weren't ready to play tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand entirely, sir. Sits there the whole time at the game. The coach is like, why are you time ready? Why are you time ready? I choose not to play.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, literally, they aren't typing ready. So that happened twice.
Yes, Foss would have thought of this. Virtus Pro could be in Pro League again.
Well,
you guys didn't think. You just thought that you'd have to get them to win the game. Think about it, you daft cunt. Just give the other team a reason not to press ready.
All right, ricked up, mate.
Yeah.
Tell the other team, listen,
you know,
get some EPL points, but I'll feed you to the fucking pigs.
Now make me a cup of tea, Errol. But so, and then the third opponent comes round. Now, this is the newly formed VG Flash. And they're obviously having none of this not typing in ready business. So they sat down, did the veto, ready to play. Actually, probably the slightly favoured team over FaZe Tiger that are relatively fucking new. They sit down, got to play, boop, internet goes off. Right? So it's like, okay, well, that can happen, right? You know, Chinese internet's a little bit up and down. Hell of a coincidence that just after the veto, the internet goes off. So they call out engineers and they're like, well, we're going to be delayed. Meanwhile, FaZe Tiger threatening FaZe admins saying, look, we do not want to wait to play this game. It's an outrage. We will not wait. We have given them an hour to get this fixed. We will not wait. And if you do not give us the forfeit win, we will talk to Perfect World. We will fuck you up. Blah, blah, blah. Like, just the manager was talking to a FaZe admin with the name, what the fuck, shut the fuck up. That was the manager from FaZe Tiger, right?
Reasonable.
Like, yeah, unfucking reasonable. But anyway, then, when VG Flash looked into what had happened, someone had physically ripped their cable out from their house.
Are you taking notes, ES Force? Another good plan. You'll need some thinkers on your team.
But here's the worst part. Someone had drawn a big fucking X next to the one cable out of all of the cables. So somebody had gone, said, this is the VG Flash one, no fucking X. And then somebody else has come along, right? Have they done the vetoes, right? Fucking hell. Pulled the cable out. And then anyway, FaZe had said, well, we'll just reschedule and play it at 4 p.m. And FaZe Tiger were, no, absolutely not. This is against your rules. Like, why would you want to win like that, first of all? But, like, do they not understand how shady it makes them look by refusing to play a rematch? So VG Flash are just out, and somehow this team, FaZe Tiger, due to all these incredible sequence of events, have qualified for the Asian Minor without playing a game. just days after having to play a VAC band in a $300,000 tour. Who the fuck are these guys?
There we
who the fuck are you?
Now we know who was available to rip out the cords on cue. That fucking VAC band little cunt. No, don't go anywhere yet. Got a little job for you, son. When I hit you on the hip, you just rip all the wires out, don't you? Yes, sir.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, listen, I'll say this. Sure, maybe the players are in a bind and they know what the fuck is going on. But I talked to Chinese sources. Let me tell you, it's a fucking sewer out there. Everyone knows this team fucking reeks. Like, I do not understand how anybody is sort of like standing by this result as if like people are going.
Because do you want to be the fucking Tiananmen Square guy, but of an online qualifier who just disappears into an unknown prison? Like, what did you do? I stood up for the people's rights. Well, kill him as well.
Yeah, no, but they can't do anything to me, and they can't do anything to face it.
Sure.
Or they can't do anything to like. Listen, people are saying you can't disqualify a team without evidence, mate. If I showed this to a fucking jury in a court case, and then this mysteriously happened, and this mysteriously happened, and then this mysteriously happened, you might not get them for all the charges. You get them for something. The only entity that benefits from all this bullshit is Fierce Tiger. And I guarantee there's someone out there somewhere who fucking knows exactly what's gone on and will flip later on down the line. For me, the first step to getting around it is you just say, actually, you are going to play the game. Because all tournament organizers have a rule that says we can do whatever the fuck we want and change the rules at any time. So Face It should just invoke that. You don't need to disqualify them. Just make them play the game. They're clearly afraid of playing people. You know, they're probably fucking toggling that one as well. Oh, we've got another player that no one's ever heard of. Bloody hell, he's good, isn't he? Where do we keep finding him? It's a fucking joke. But anyway, so I just wanted your thoughts about it all. Not about delicious food or any other stand-up comedy. Just about what the show's about, if possible.
The problem is, in all these scenes, one of the like unwritten rules almost of Counter-Strike is a company who's going to run qualifiers has to have good admins, and that usually means people the players know, etc. Because I've actually seen so many LANs where even pro level players would dick around or would take extra time or would take liberties with the rules. But if you have a good tournament like organizer and like admins that they've met before, they can actually get them to like just fucking start. Like, for example, you see games where people complain afterwards when they lose, oh, the admin made me start and I wasn't ready. Like, yeah, that's actually the admin's doing his fucking job, isn't he? So the problem I feel like is now you've seen all these people. ESL expanded the APAC region. You've got Face It, all these other people. Everyone wants to run the Chinese events now because there's obviously a mad amount of money over there. So part of the issue, I think, is you've got to have people that they respect that it'll just make it happen, because this is beyond a joke, isn't it? Like, if I were them, I'd just be disqualifying this team. Like, this is actually about as egregious as you can get. What more could you do to basically break the rules?
No, it's mad. It's crazy. And like I say, unfortunately, I really want us to crack the fucking Asian region and have an engaged Chinese Counter-Strike scene. It's the bedrock of so many successful games. It's a huge audience. It's an audience that has tenure within Counter-Strike going all the way back. And if you talk to the Fnatic players from 1.6 who went out there, there's fans out there that fucking still love this game and love 1.6. And their scene is an absolute fucking sewer. Someone has got to take responsibility for cleaning it up. And I don't know who it would be, but I hope somebody gives enough of a fuck, because right now, I am telling you, games just fixed, out in the open, blatant, doing things that make the iBuyPower fucking game look like it was a really concerted effort to cover it up. I mean, players deliberately flashing themselves to miss shots, and like it's madness. Like, I could show people demo and footage of games that betting companies have reached out to me about and gonna be seeing this shit, and it's just ridiculous.
It's also just amazing how bad players are at throwing games. Like, fucking hell, it's like that joke. Like, here's the one area I'll give someone credit. Right? Did you see that interview with that Stormy Daniels where someone said something? She said something like, people have suggested I'm acting, and she made a bit of a hackney joke, but it's a good one, where she goes like, are you aware I'm a porn star? We're not exactly good actors. It's like that. If you ever see any player who's match fixed, fucking hell, some of them are terrible at doing it. Like, they make it so blatant, it's ridiculous.
I know, it's mad.
There's no like guile whatsoever.
Right. So let's move on to talking about the ESL Pro League Season 7 finals. Great event. Really enjoyed some of the Counter-Strike that was played. There's some very good games indeed. And what we'll do is, as we did with the DreamHack tournament, we'll start with the winners and kind of work our way back from there. So as you said earlier, Astralis have sort of like just figured out the fucking game. Like it's just, you know, what can you do at this point?
It's like, if you remember on the last show, I said, even though they lost the final of Sydney 3-0, I would bet all my money they would win the next tournament. Yeah, because it's like, if that's them losing, fucking hell, what's it going to take to beat them?
Yeah, and I said the same thing as well. I said they'll win whatever tournament it was. You know, after watching how they performed out in Sydney, and sure, they lost the final at FaZe. That will never happen again, as proven actually by the 2-0 over FaZe, where it was just so comprehensive. Like FaZe got, what was it, like 9 rounds in 2 maps against them. Like clearly they were up for that one. They knew that final was an injustice, and yeah, it certainly helped them that Guardian had a really poor series, like below his standards. But again, that's deceptive because he barely had the AWP because they were barely winning rounds. Like just Glaive took over that fucking series and just fucking styled on him. It was absolutely ridiculous. Now I'll say this. Actually, I thought Astralis looked better here than they did in the previous iteration at Sydney, and everything they're doing is so fucking good right now. The numbers don't lie.
It's actually a good example of a team where, right, okay, I understand why some fans hate it when a team's dominant because they don't like seeing, you know, someone just get crushed flat. But actually, this is a good example of where, because like everything Astralis is doing makes sense. Like they have all these moves that are pre-planned and like people just comm so well and play off each other. Even if they crush the opponent completely, it's actually entertaining to watch. Like you're just thinking like, especially because some of the games they're winning by like double digit, like, you know, the opponent gets 7 rounds or something. It's not like the opponent is pure shit and didn't turn up to the game. Sometimes the opponent does an okay job and, you know, right, this is a real team, and then they still get crushed. So it's actually quite compelling to watch, I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, you know, just everything about it, the way that, again, the most damage from sort of utility, everyone is fragging on a ridiculous level. If you look at Magic's stats since he joined, every event he's attended, he has performed better than the previous one since joining Astralis. Definitely turned out to be the missing piece. There was actually a fucking moment, I think it might have been in the final actually, or it might have been in the FaZe game, but Magisk put the fucking North did the North spray on the floor and then fucking shot it with the AK. And it's like I say, I mean, seriously, they definitely got the fucking out of that whole Danish shuffle. They definitely came out back with like Magisk has been absolutely fucking god tier since joining Astralis. Interesting enough, I saw Dupree got the MVP, and I saw you kind of thought that maybe it should have been Device. Like I thought Device had like just an immense final. Like he absolutely battered.
He always goes ham on the fucking NA teams, if you've ever seen. Yeah. So to him, he's loving the fact Team Liquid's like one of the top teams at the moment. Just seems like the team he just has no fucking worries whatsoever against, you know.
But that Dust 2 game was fucking unreal. Like, it was absolutely unbelievable.
Especially because overall, Team Liquid is the squad that's given this team the most close games. In this tournament, they were the one who got the only map win off them at Marseille. Team Liquid actually does half decent against them. So the fact that it still doesn't matter and they're just styling on them, it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah,
so I mean... you can wax lyrical about Astralis. They're clearly the best team in the world. I guess the question is what has to happen for somebody to knock them off their perch? Because I cannot see Astralis kind of not being the number. Like I just think they're on such a high level compared to everyone else right now. Like I do not see who could even replace them, like vaguely, or who actually would come close to them. That FaZe result, I think we're going to look back on that in 3 months' time, and it's going to be an anomaly. I think Astralis are poised to fucking clean up like at every event they attend.
The people who said after that Sydney win, like, haha, look, who cares about Olofmeister? Like, Exist did his job, because obviously, like, whenever they won games, Exist would have, like, you know, like one nice clutch or something that looked good, and you were like, see, good under pressure. It's like, mate, Olofmeister coming back to FaZe, if it happens, would be one of the best things for the scene right now. Because obviously the good thing about that old FaZe lineup was it was like a hyper fucking charged fragging machine. So when you want to go against a team that has all the fundamentals and is just on like an unbelievable team play angle, you want someone who has like mad brute force, because it doesn't matter how well two people play one site and play off each other. If you can really have like 4 people running the site who have banging AKs, it's like just overwhelm them, that is a way you could win a game. So that would be a great matchup, I think. My problem is a lot of the teams out there that are really consistent and really good in the scene, Mouseports, Team Liquid, Fnatic, they're like exactly the teams that this Astralis team pretty much looks built to just tear apart brick by brick. So I agree. Like at the moment, you add in the fact that in tournaments like this, you can even afford to lose once. I think it's just so tough to stop them winning the tournament. I could see someone winning a series. Someone has a great series. You get that 1/3 map where it's a close one. But at the moment, if nothing changes, because it's like there's not the key thing that's unlike a lot of past eras when people were strong is there's not like a team that's clearly like going to improve in a month or probably make a roster move in a month that's going to improve things. So at the moment, there's not really anyone I don't think can challenge them. It looks tailor-made for them to just keep doing this for like a few more tournaments at least.
Right, in all things told, I'll say I think it was a great event for Liquid. Definitely sort of confirming that number one team in NA by some distance now. Taco seems to be bedding in quite well. Naf continuing to show that he's got that star power. Twists and Elige, great duo. I just think the unfortunate thing is now for almost anyone who makes it to a final, especially best of fives, by the way, you're going to run into Astralis, and there's just no like what has to happen for the next 3 months is everybody needs to just be watching Astralis demos religiously and just sort of doing what they're doing and try and be Astralis when you bump into Astralis. But I thought Liquid had a great tournament. I thought the results that they had overall were really, really solid and show a lot of promise. Whereabouts would you place them right now in terms of World Counter-Strike, based on this run here?
I mean, I think at the moment they've got to be pretty high up, like probably top 5 at least. And the thing about them is when I look at their squad, and I do think Tackle was like a really good move, actually. I think he's like shored them up a bit, like especially because what he's given them that they didn't have with any of the other players is someone who actually does have like composure. Like that's the thing about Tackle. He's a fucking professional, and he doesn't actually. One of the interesting things about him is obviously never going to light up the stats, but this will sound like a weird compliment. But okay, so obviously his fragging numbers aren't sick, but they're like equally good even if he's in a big final against the best team in the world. As in, he doesn't get worse when he plays the better team. Well, that's actually incredibly rare. Normally, players who have low fragging numbers are going to frag. Like, this is how Skadoodle does it in his whole career, right? Every tournament, he has one map that looks sick where he gets 27 kills. But you know how he ends up on 0.6 FPR every tournament? He has to have a bunch of maps later in the tournament where he gets like 7 kills. He has to average it out, doesn't he? So the difference is Tackle's like the guy where if he gets like 0.6, he just does that every game. So in a way, because it's so reliable and because he obviously has a lot of intangibles that don't show up on a kill scoreboard because he facilitates people, he plays tough spots, he comms well, presumably, he's composed under pressure. To me, the key thing is he just it's one less problem in the team. And now it's like, right, is Naf going to go off? Is Elige going to have a big game? If they do, we've got all the pieces to win the game now. And then you're never going to have the whole breakdown that you could occasionally have in Team Liquid, I think.
Yeah. Talking about FaZe, obviously ran up against Astralis. They actually got further again than I thought they were going to. I'll certainly say that about them. They had some pretty good series over the course of the tournament. There was no doubt in my mind that we're going to not beat Astralis when they sort of ran into them, wherever that would be along the way. I wasn't expecting it to be quite so dominant. But, they made short work of SK Gaming, pretty comprehensive there, especially on Mirage, which is a map that... This is one of the issues we'll talk about when we get to SK, I suppose, but the SK map pool is absolute dire at the moment. But there was an interview that Carrigan did on HLTV where he started sort of saying, we're hoping to have some news about what happens with Olofmeister soon, but it wasn't clear what that news would be. He didn't say, oh, he's going to be coming back into the team. But tell me what you make of this quote here. The question was, so you really don't know for sure when Olof will be coming back? And he said, we have way more news now. hopefully we can soon reveal what's going to happen and give a timeline to the fans. We just have to wait and see. Whenever he's ready, we're ready to take him back into the lineup. Exist has been playing well, and it was very good that we won a tournament with him. 2018 has been really good for us, and that's from Carrigan. So, reading between the lines there, it does say like Exist is on borrowed time. There's absolutely no chance he's gonna sort of permanently replace Olofmeister. But equally, it's saying how long is a piece of string. So nobody knows why Olofmeister's had to go out again. Whether it's a health problem, whether it's personal issues. It's actually been one of those sort of better kept secrets in Counter-Strike. A lot of questions about it. So I don't want to talk too much about it because obviously it's wrong to speculate about people's personal lives on that level, especially when you know them and you have to bump into them and stuff. But I definitely think that it kind of sounds like they're not sold on Exist being a permanent addition, but they're trapped in this kind of limbo where it's like Olofmeister is very much calling the tune. And honestly, I think after a prolonged bout out of the team, I don't think Olofmeister necessarily improves them. I think they're just back to square one with all the same problems and idiosyncrasies that they had before. And FaZe kind of are saying, yeah, we are going to give him another go. So what do you make of all of that?
Well, the thing is, I know they obviously had their problems in some of the matches in the finals, etc., but they were spectacular at times when everything got going with that squad, because obviously there was so much talent in it. And then you have to add in, the one part I think people aren't factoring in is, just like Astralis, they benefit from no cobblestone. Like, if they want to start practicing Dust 2 and they can get good on it, they can have a better map pool than the old FaZe used to have, which is obviously one of their problems. So I still think it would be a great team to watch play. At the moment, when you've got no real options to where to go, because the direction for that squad's kind of a bit weird, because you've already got a lot of the good players and it's not really certain as to who you'd bring in elsewhere. Like, to me, the obvious people you should be targeting is someone like NBK. If he's not going to be in the new G2, that's the sort of player you probably want to bring in. But if you can't get him, I'd say it's probably worth just going back to the Olofmeister thing and rolling the dice and seeing how it goes, because at the moment, I still think they could have a lot of success in the scene. I think it's good. It could be a very strong team still. I don't know if they can beat Astralis, but then again, I don't know if anyone can. So you've got to just throw some at the wall, I think.
Yeah. So I briefly touched on SK Gaming. So there was another interview with SK where they were saying we can't buy a win on Mirage. So it's like, okay, so you've now got Mirage, Nuke, and Inferno that you're really going to struggle with. By the way, Dust 2's back in the map pool. We don't know what's going on there with Dust 2 for you and how that's going to fit in because we don't have a big enough sample size. I think SK Gaming, I know we've said this before, they are all over the fucking place right now. And what was mad about this is when they lost to FaZe 2-0 to go out of the tournament, again, I hate to say it, the issues were like Stewie, not the problem. Like if we're just assessing it numerically and talking about individual levels of performance, maybe it is the problem because he's getting all the space and doing what he wants, and maybe it's disrupting the structure. Sure, but in terms of what he delivered to the team and kills on the board and damage on the board, Stewie was the best player against FaZe. Absolutely was head and shoulders up there with any of the FaZe players in this series, which, as we established, was very comprehensively in their favor. But Fallen has fucking fallen. He's so beneath the level that we're used to seeing him at. It's actually interesting that I think, yeah, we've talked a lot about Bolts being a problem and how he's probably on borrowed time. Right now, I don't know what has happened to Fallen. Again, I was watching a demo on stream the other day. It was on Mirage, and I can't remember what game it was. I think it was NIP. I'm not too sure though. But anyway, I was watching it to watch Bolts. But actually, some of the calls in the middle of the round that SK Gaming were making were hideous. And Fallen was making some real fucking schoolboy error mistakes, like running, when they had like a 5v3 advantage, Fallen ran through a smoking connector with a fucking AWP and died. And like, it's like, hang on, you guys used to methodically dismantle teams. And when that didn't work, you had the likes of Cold Zero and Fur to just get you out of trouble. You've still got the firepower on this roster, but tactically they've completely gone to pieces. And Fallen's individual level of performance is down as well. I don't really know what to say. Like I think he's the kind of guy who's certainly magnanimous. He would probably take a lot of the blame himself. But yeah, I'm now starting to sort of think maybe Fallen's lost his mojo a little bit here. What do you think?
Oh, it seems very much like his confidence is shot. Is like, especially the most bizarre thing is, it's not even just like confidence as a player. It sounds to me like he isn't even confident in like his leadership style because he's just not getting results. And so this is someone where like you don't expect that to ever happen because that was like his strength. If anything, he always had his players playing his brand of Counter-Strike, and you always could sort of trust in him because it didn't matter what roster move they did or if they went in like, you know, a slump for them in the past was like one bad event, one time missed the playoffs, and that it's still people overreacted to those. Yeah. Now the last few months have been torturous to watch because you're watching people. I mean, this obviously was the best example ever because this is the team that they have fucking owned for the last year or so, where like it doesn't matter what's happening, as long as we play against FaZe, we will have psychological edge on them. Like, you know, maybe we get more leeway at certain times in a match because they're expecting us to do something. And FaZe just fucking styled on him on that second map. It was an absolute joke. And then obviously you saw what happened to FaZe against Astralis. So yeah, this is like the worst ever moment for SK, I think. Even though here's the mad thing. The result was the best they've had with this core. Fucking hell, if this was playing well, I don't want to see it anymore. It's just, I'm just completely sort of done with this lineup. I don't know what the point is.
Yeah. I tell you, there was a funny thing that happened as well. I'm just trying to quickly find it. Sam, I'll let you take over because I've got to talk now. But basically, what happened was during this tournament, Fallen tweeted out like, help, we need a lawyer. It was like, he said that.
Amazing.
Yeah, this was brilliant. I've got to laugh about this. Basically, Fallen tweeted out publicly that a company, a skins betting company, I think, was using his image and erroneously, and it was being advertised on ESL TV. It was on the stream, right? Yes. Game Flip, it was called. That was it. And he was like, I've never even heard of this company. We need a lawyer. Like, it was just fucking unreal.
Oh, and by the way, as you pointed out there, it's one thing if he was just like, why is this company using my image? No. He was like, why is ESL showing this ad of a company using my image? It's like, what is ESL supposed to go? Oh, by the way, follow, we're just about to go live on the stream. There's an ad. Were you? Come on, mate. That's not the way it works. Also, I'll just give you this one piece of information, Rich. Because this piece of information is a really interesting piece of context that might change what you might think Fallen's behavior might be. Because you know what? If you're at an event and you see this happen and you have no information that it's your team's never told you about this sponsor, you might think to yourself, well, what do? Maybe I do a tweet and I'll get an answer pretty quickly. Or you could open this website called google.com and you could search for SK space Game Flip, the name of the company. And the second link would be SK like announces partnership with Game Flip from a month ago. And then you might go, I don't think I'll tweet this publicly because it looks as though SK has got a partnership with this team. Or you could just say, what do you mean google.com? Nah, I prefer twitter.com, mate. I just go to twitter.com, type whatever I want in that box, press enter, and then everything goes my way.
No, but so here's what's crazy about it. Here's what sort of blew my mind. This is in the middle of a tournament, by the way.
Fucking Gabriel one website Toledo.
Yeah, this is in the middle of a tournament. So first of all, you have got sort of the lack of focus to even be engaged in
Oh, by the way, SK, this is another thing to worry about with SK, right? They weren't exactly the team beyond Fallen who were the most vocal, you know, like you barely ever see Fur on Twitter. I think Cold Zero occasionally tweets. Mate, during one of the games in this tournament, like maybe like 20 minutes before their game went live, like Fallen and Stewie TK were tweeting to me. Why are you tweeting to me getting triggered and baited before you play?
Yeah. But that's what I mean. It's like, where's
your fucking life priorities in order, bitch?
Yeah, where's your fucking focus though? Do you know what I mean? Like, again, like just basic things you do before games as a coach, and I'm sure Fallen knows this. I can't tell him about how to run a team, right? But like you insulate, you get in the zone, and to do that, you insulate yourself away from certain things, distractions, things
put
that
on your Beats by Dre, you put on the M&M, lose yourself.
Yeah. We all know you don't sit there on Twitter arguing. Yeah, we do. We don't sit on Twitter arguing with you.
Visa. And why is SK Gaming's logo on their site? I want all my fans to not buy Visa and to call 911 right now. Like, what the fuck are you doing, you mess?
Here's, here's what I thought was like, it's more indicative as well.
Political version of like, don't tase me, bro. Just like, don't tase me, bro.
It's indicative of like where his sort of mind is at as well. It's like, why wouldn't you just pick up the phone to SK, for example? Is there no manager or representation you have direct access to? There must be. I mean, it does. Obviously, we all know they're leaving. So maybe it makes me wonder if, like, they literally just don't talk to them anymore and are just going through the motions. ESL have investigated and found no conflict of interest between the ownerships and interests of SK Gaming, which was partially owned by Ralph Reichart as early as 2016.
Was ESL called up SK and they said, right, what's going on with this? You've got two teams. You've got the Brazilian players and then you've got the other team, their former NTC, right? Come on, like, you must own these two teams and they're in our tournament. And they were like, nah, we ain't talked to them, though. And they're like, oh, sound. Right. That's taking care of that then. That's all I need to know.
But here's the other issue as well. Like, maybe it would be easier to keep track of your fucking image rights if you didn't sign them away at every piece of paper that a pro player signed. Your image rights are actually... Like, I guarantee it'll be in the contract that SK Gaming own Fallen's image rights in perpetuity. Like, I've seen these contracts too many times. Like, it's always in perpetuity. I saw the Team Liquid contracts...
It's just going to end up like that fucking Black Mirror episode where when that guy was getting electrocuted, you could buy like that gift of him where it's just him being tortured forever in a 1 second look like, is that just falling forever in an SK jersey? Trapped his consciousness.
But it was like when I've looked at this before. So like when you had to go into LCS for Riot, you have to sign away your image rights and you sign clauses that say they can even manipulate your voice and image. So you don't just sell. So in other words,
every time I hear that, I just think of that Simpsons episode where he's like, that sweet
yes,
can.
Like, yeah. No, they could though. They could literally do it, right? Like it's there. It's in
we
the
saw Fallen, by the way. Fallen's gone from SK, but in 5 years, he's still doing like commercials for products that didn't even exist at the time. Like, new cool Doritos, that crunchy.
Yeah, no, they could though. So in LCS it works like that, but then also that's what you sign your image rights away to Riot in perpetuity for that. But then it was like when I saw the Team Liquid contracts for the first time a while ago. It was like they had this phrase where it was like, we own your rights anywhere in the known universe, and it's like it was insane. It was some insane wording. It basically said that like. Even if we went intergalactic tomorrow, we just cracked space travel, Team Liquid would still own you. You couldn't go to another planet to get away from them. They would still own you and your image rights. It could put your fucking face on a billboard on a fucking satellite circulating around the new fucking planet with the waves like from Interstellar on it. Like it's just so ridiculous. And it's like maybe if you kept track of this shit and actually held on to your image rights and didn't just sign them away, you wouldn't have your face advertising GameFlip, a company you have now said publicly you've never heard of. By the way, SK Gaming obviously trying to milk their cash cows on the fucking way out before they bring in NTC, who they're definitely not paying at the moment.
Yeah, but Rich, don't you understand? They gave me this bag of magic beans.
Yeah, right.
So why would I need my image rights? I've got the beans.
So think about this, right? Obviously, they're just trying to get some fucking money because they put a lot of money into SK Gaming. So obviously, they're going to use their face to add value to sponsorships, especially for these bullshit companies, which I'm sure GameFlip actually fucking is.
Imagine if they just go. Imagine if SK has just sold their like images to all the fucking random Google AdWords ads and shit. So now it's like can't get it up anymore, can't perform on the top level. It's like Fallen and Cold Zero are going to be using new Viagra dick.
Viagra dick, nice, good name for a drug. But anyway, so they're obviously trying to get some money, and now you've just come out and gone, never heard of this company.
That is going to be one of the worst PR nightmares of all time for your GameFlip.
Never heard of this company. Mate, you're on their advert endorsing it and telling people to use it, and it's fucking great.
Wait a minute, though.
And now you've just publicly said you've never heard of it.
Wait a minute.
You've heard
Richard,
that sponsorship, haven't you?
You haven't given him enough credit. What if he's playing 9-dimensional chess? What if this is his next level version of a T. Martin? Like, who the fuck is GameFlip? That my face is all over their products saying it's the best. What's that? I actually am sponsored by them because they're a fantastic company. Fuck me. Has everyone heard about game flips? Because I'm flipping my attitude, changing my tune, and what do you know? Cashing out like a G.
I don't think it's gonna fucking be like that. I'll believe it when I see Fallen dancing with the fucking dog doing a fucking apology video. But I just thought, like, again, it's indicative of all the problems that are going on at the team. Disconnected from the organization, not focused on the tournament. Like, who has time, like, literally in the middle of a tournament? When have you ever seen a player, like, tweet about their fucking paper? I've never seen anything so sort of gauche, like, and it's like, it's not like you're winning. It's not like you're at the top. Like, let's say if Astralis came out right now and they were like, yeah, just got a brand new fucking Audi, or where's the Audi you promised me, Audi, or something like that. You'd be like, well, you are absolutely balling out of control. You are the best team in the world. SK Gaming swirling down the pan, about to change organisation, and you're fucking the organisation on the way out by arguing about some stupid bullshit. Get your fucking head in the game.
Also, it's not even like he's tweeting about the matches, like, tough game coming up, but you know what? The team's got their head in the game. We're going to go for this one. Instead, he's out there like fucking George C. Scott from The Hustler, like, where's my money?
That's mad.
Y'all better give me that money.
So anyway, enough about SK. Let's talk. There was a couple of the stories I wanted to touch upon. We'll talk about Cloud9. Always a favourite.
How'd you like the news about that, eh?
What, the buyout? So let me make sure we're on the same page. So what I heard, and again, I've
was confirmed by Jack. He did a tweet.
Oh, so you mean the FNS thing?
Yes.
Right. Okay. But I heard.
Oh, the Studio buyout you were thinking
yeah,
about, right?
So apparently, according to DK, we know is a reliable source, he said that Studio 2K was the most expensive buyout in CS history, which I guess would have to put them at a minimum of 250, could be as high as $500,000. I heard some fucking nonsense about it being $1 million, never in a fucking month of Sundays, not even if it's Immortals have actually bought them full time. Don't buy that for a second. But I can certainly believe Studio 2K will be the highest buyout in World Counter-Strike. There's a lot of reasons why that would be true.
Pretty fucking high to buy him out.
Right? But then the money that
Cheech Job, the general manager over at SK.
The money that they got for it, which again would have to be a minimum of $250,000. Well, they bought FNS for $200,000 because he just signed a contract with Complexity. Now listen. Come on, mate. Like, even if you need an in-game leader, you don't pay $200K for FNS. Like, by the way, I just want to say this. Fucking FNS, we need to fucking just kill him and just because he's too smart to live.
He is like the Trump of his generation. How is he doing this?
Yeah,
his persuasion skills are unreal.
It's one of those unfortunate things. It's like if we ever saw like an alien, we'd probably just have to kill it and dissect its brain to learn how it works because it's better than us. It's the only way we're going to evolve. We have to do that with FNS now. It's like the guy's insane. It's like, right, I have destroyed the entire Brazilian scene, executing phase 2.
He's just running straight Jedi mind tricks on him. Jack, I am the leader you need. Yeah, you are actually, and whatever amount of money I need to pay for you, I will pay for you.
Yeah, become fucking most expensive in-game leader ever purchased in-game, executing phase 3. Like, what's going to happen here? Like, I mean, I don't even know what the next stage is. He's just so far fucking ahead. It just makes no sense. This is a player 2 years ago who was just a journeyman in-game leader. What the fuck is going on? It's so mental. 200,000. Look, listen. I do not see anything in FNS's Cloud9 to make me think he's revolutionized it. There was some promise there at the start, but unfortunately they're hampered by sort of same old. You've got to support AWPA, and overall, what you've lost by Stewie 2K going out, you haven't gained with Skadoodle and FNS sort of, being on that roster. Automatic's doing all he can to fucking try and carry it to glory, but it's just not working right now. And again, some of the results that they had here, they got 2-0'd by Heroic, for fuck's sake.
Who just got a brand new player right now as well.
Yeah, but by the way, that Croman, fucking hell. Rubino can't get back in the team. It's already over. Rubino was like, fucking hell, my eyes a bit itchy. Fucking hell. Right, lads, can I have this tournament off? And they went, yeah, it's all right. We'll just pick up some Norwegian unknown guy. He's the best player on the fucking team. That's it, Rubino. You're moving team again. And I fucking love that guy. And I think he's great. He can't get back in this roster.
I will say, though, for everyone who's trying to make like FNS to target the criticism, are you all like those robots in fucking Westworld? And every time, like, was Skadoodle written into your DNA that you're not allowed to ever actually look at what this guy's doing? Because every time I'm like, what about this player, though, who buys the most expensive gun in the game? You see his stats every tournament, and they're like, doesn't look like anything to me. Fucking hell. What has this guy got on everyone that he's still in the team? Forget FNX. This guy doesn't even have to talk and he's just inside your mind. Is he some sort of fucking telepath or something? Like every time someone's like, I wonder if we should keep him in the... Yes, actually, he's a fucking brilliant teammate and I like him in the team. What went on there? Unreal. Get him out the fucking team. He should be playing for NRG or something. Get him out of my face.
To be fair, it's not even that he had a particularly like bad tournament here.
Yeah, because he set the fucking standard so low.
So anyway, I don't even think he had sort of the worst performance here out of the team, honestly. I thought considering what Rush is supposed to be doing in the team, I thought Rush was really poor here. And I think this is like, again, you can see the in-game leader, FNS, for all his fucking smarts, on a macro level. When it comes to the micro level, actually trying to get the most out of this team and figuring out who's meant to be doing what, I don't think he can get it done either. And I like I say, every time I watch them play, I think, fucking hell, they don't have Miss Stewie. You know what I mean? That just is the shape of Cloud9 right now. So don't know what they're going to be doing, but this was another horrible outing for them, and it's becoming a bit repetitive to talk about it. I'll keep one eye on the time. It probably.
By the way, someone's done a meme on Twitter where they've actually done what you asked for. You know, like that famous meme where you make the person's face in sideways smaller.
Yeah.
They've got a dead fox and made a version of that, and it looks just like him still, but just with this even smaller face.
No, it's so subtly done. It's so subtly done. It actually, I didn't even notice at first, but I'll let Sam bring it up. But yeah, we should talk a bit about Mouseports. I think Mouseports definitely worth a bit of discussion here. They're kind of like I don't know. We in Counter-Strike we never seem to accept that sort of it's okay to actually not progress. Like
depends who you are, doesn't it? It's all relative to what your circumstances are.
Yeah, this is what I mean. It's like I think Mousesports is still like a top 5, certainly top 16 in the world, right? And I think that the level of improvement they've all made individually and as a team over this period of time that we've been talking about them has been amazing. But I'm just starting to wonder now, which DreamHack event was it? Was it was it Malmo, or it was a DreamHack event where they didn't win it? We talked. I can't remember.
Winter. They lost to
yeah. That was it. Yeah, DreamHack Winter where they lost to. I kind of feel that was like a tipping point. Like they didn't get a trophy on the board, and they could have done and should have done. And now they're a team that's kind of like just fallen off just a little bit, not majorly, but they're just not playing as well as they were a short period of time ago. And it's really standing out. You know, they'll beat the teams that are around them, but they're really now struggling to chalk up the results against the teams that were above them, which was basically their hallmark when they were coming up. You know, they were kind of like made to look pretty average over the course of this by Liquid. They had that super close game on Mirage, which obviously Liquid stole. Mousesports' best map by a country mile. But then on Dust 2, and we all know Liquid don't have a handle on that because we saw what Astralis did to them. They were really battered. And when you think about, I know it's a different version, but you think about some of the players on that Mousesports roster, in particular Chris J, and how they used to take over Dust 2 games way back in the day. I don't know. So and they did an interview where they said, we're not playing as well as we can and we know it. I don't know what you do if you're Mousesports, because I wouldn't necessarily advocate for a roster change. But honestly, as more and more teams are going to be starting to chase down Astralis and try and get to that level, and we are going to see teams on the come up, I don't know if Mousesports can maintain that top 5 presence. What do you think?
The thing is, I think they are a good team, but unfortunately, like the Dust 2 thing's a little bit worrying, because I actually thought Dust 2 would improve this team. I thought if you have like a squad of a bunch of good players who play somewhat individually, Dust 2 is the ideal map. You want that in the mix. So that's a bit worrying. They haven't adapted to that. Definitely doesn't help that like one of their best maps is obviously Mirage, and so many of the top teams right now fucking love that map and are really good on it. So it's going to be really tough to go far there. I kind of agree in a way. Like, I think the team's fine. I'd stick with this team for a while and ride it out, see where it goes. You're never going to be the best team. I think that's not even on the table. And it's also not impossible, as I hinted at before, that there could be someone like an NBK who is just left out of another team and actually, at this point in their career, might be willing to come to your team and add something to the squad. Because I feel as though one of my problems with their team is if you look at the kind of placings they're getting, I think it's about right for the players they have. Like, it would be weird if this team was the number one team in the world. Like, they don't have a single player who's going to be the best player in the world. They have some pretty good players at a bunch of positions. So guess what? They're a pretty good team, but not the best. I think that's about reasonable.
Yeah. It's a shame, though. I mean, I've enjoyed watching them as they've been coming up, but I know, like, it really feels that, like, I don't know, in a month or two, they're going to have kind of slipped right down the rankings, and probably is not going to be as much of a talking point or as relevant, as we as we were talking about them, not that long ago. Just one other topic to come out of that. Obviously, one of the hotly anticipated rosters was OpTic. The Danes. People wanted to see how they were going to do. It was interesting. I honestly thought that they would have gone a little bit further than they did.
I thought they were going to win that SK series.
Yeah,
winnable.
Well, it's SK. It's definitely winnable. They got the win on Train, and I was like, well, actually, that was SK's map, so now you are done. Turned out that even though OpTic picked us too, which kind of was a bit strange, must have been a Hail Mary. They got absolutely battered on it. And then on Inferno, which is usually a map you can definitely get a SK on, they actually lost that too, 16-13. But it was pretty, very close series overall. What did you make of their first outing? I thought actually a lot of promise here. Cajun B config looks really, really good. Snappy seems to have fitted in. They certainly had some really nice tactical setups on Train. So overall, pretty impressive for a first-time outing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and especially because like they got the most out of the players you wanted to see. Like Config did look like a star player again, because obviously that's the thing. If he didn't like Stanislaw because Stanislaw wasn't hands-on enough, in theory, Snappy is someone who is a tactical and game leader and wants to do some of that. So the Snappy move looks like a fucking great signing to bring the rest out of the other ones. Guess what? Everyone who was calling for Cajun B to be fucking turned out into the desert to die of old age in the wilderness actually turns out when you put this guy in a different squad, he's a really good player still. So I think it's got a lot of promise as a team. Obviously, you hope that they get to some land soon and we see like follow-up of this because, losing to SK at the moment, that's really like an opportunity to get a massive scalp at this point in time. I thought otherwise, generally pretty good. I do have my questions about what the Gade guy is going to do in the team still. So it feels a bit like the odd man out overall, but I think the core of the team is good enough that I kind of could see them going somewhere, but I'm really looking closely at this next event. That's where I think I'll kind of get a sense for where they're at.
All right, then. So I think that's kind of everything. Sam, do we have any questions from lovely...
No one's asked again.
Nice guys. No one's asked the question. All right, well... That's fine. So look, there you have it. That was another episode of By the Numbers. It's going to be the shortest one ever. This is one where if you're watching the VOD and you want to type, why is it? Oh, the timestamps.
Why would I even watch? There's only 2 hours of free content now instead of 2 hours and 3 minutes. Why would I even watch?
Yeah, I love the ones who do that, and then they're not even the ones that pay.
Oh, no, of course. Yeah, no.
It's mad, isn't it?
That's what I mean, mate. Everyone who gives us money, no one's asked. No one even sends in the questions. They're just giving you a slice and leaving it.
They might have a point here on this one. I got a feeling this is going to be cut to the fucking bone. It's going to be like 90 minutes or something, but whatever.
Just make it edgy.
Brilliant. No.
Switch your style up.
Nah, you're all right, mate. So anyway, obviously the show is made possible by our patrons. $100 patrons are Detlef Insomniac, Eric Boutros, TTM XMP, Ruxun, Chris Enwin, Jerky's Minion, Mateus Pietkowski, and Hyolu, and our $50 patrons, TC Owens, Troy, Pete Bidstrup, Ollie Ginther Zillan, Colin Penny, Carter, Andreas Westerland, Madsen, the Archangel Varao, Vexy, Mama Jamma Hennessy, Nostradamus, Daniel Plamanov Yordanov, Marcus Kyumpar, Sard Sawar, Benakagi Assassin, and William Southern. That was By the Numbers. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Take care.